What's up guys, Acacia Nelson here, and today I wanted to kind of talk about the 5 things that I wish I could tell my 2011 self when I first started in landscape photography. These are the things that I wish I would have done sooner rather than later. There are things that I eventually did do, but if I would have done them sooner, like right after I bought my first DSLR camera in 2011, this Nikon D7000 right here, that would have greatly advanced my photography skills a lot quicker than I did develop them. And so hopefully you'll find these 5 things that are in no particular order useful and helpful that will maybe help you advance your photography skills if you're not doing these things already. So, number 1, investing in education. So when I say education, I'm not just talking about taking a college class or non-credit class. I'm talking about education in general, broadly. I'm talking about YouTube, blogs, yes, college classes, non-credit classes at your local library or community college or community center. So that's one thing that I just didn't do soon enough, and it really prevented me from advancing my skills. I didn't take the time to watch YouTube videos like this. I didn't take the time to read blogs about how to do a slow shutter speed or how to shoot a manual and all these other things that if I just would have done, I would have been able to advance my skills at a quicker rate. I ended up taking a college class at the community college that I worked at. Yes, I worked at a community college, and I didn't take the class digital photography until right before I was leaving the college to move to North Carolina. And it's one of those things that I mainly didn't do it because I was like, oh, I don't have the time. I'll get to it eventually. But year after year after year, I just didn't take it. I wanted to. I could take the class for free because that was an employee benefit, and I still didn't take it until right before I was leaving. And it was like, oh my gosh, it happens to be online this semester. It's also with the instructor that I really want to take it with, and I better take it now before I lose my really inexpensive in-district tuition rate. So I ended up taking it, and I loved it. It really helped me understand my camera more and forced me to really understand and get creative with my photography, with the different lessons that I had to do. So it was one of the greatest things that I ever did. And then of course, I kept advancing my skills by watching different YouTube channels to just really understand what the heck I was doing with this particular piece of equipment. So number 1, invest in yourself and invest in education. Number 2, not shooting a manual. Yep, I shot an auto until I took the photography class that we had to shoot in manual, and I don't know why. I think it was because I thought it was too complicated, which is not. I thought, oh, that's just too much work, which it really is not. It's a lot more fun to actually shoot a manual than it is to shoot an auto, and you get so much more creative control when you shoot a manual. Auto is great when you're first starting out and you're just learning your camera. Having the scene modes, if your camera has that option, great. That's great when you're first starting out. But I would say within the first couple months, first year, you better be switching out of auto into manual if you really want to advance your photography skills and get good at it. So yeah, if you haven't already, switch from auto to manual. If you need a little quick guide on how to shoot in manual, in the show notes below, you will find my free PDF of your quick guide to shooting in manual down below. So check that out if you need some help getting out of auto and into shooting manual. Number 3, not shooting in RAW. Again, I shot in JPEG for years, up until I took the photography class actually, because we had to shoot in RAW. And when I think back to when I first got this camera, I remember being really excited about being able to shoot in manual or being able to shoot in RAW because everyone was talking about shooting in RAW, but yet I didn't do it. And I do remember the first time I got the camera, I did take some pictures in RAW, but I couldn't figure out how to make the RAW file into a JPEG and open it up. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is just too much work. That's it. I'm just going to shoot in JPEG. I think I found like some blog post that reaffirmed my hesitation of wanting to shoot in RAW and just shoot in JPEG. Yes, it is super easy to shoot in JPEG. Your camera does all this little post-processing thing when you shoot in JPEG that it doesn't do in RAW. But when you shoot in JPEG, you are losing a pixel here and a pixel there and a couple pixels everywhere because it's condensing that file down. So you are losing information in whatever you're shooting. So if you're trying to shoot, a landscape scene and you're shooting in JPEG, you're going to be missing some details that your camera said, oh, we don't need this particular pixel because basically there's one right next to it that's really similar and we need to save space. And so it just kind of chucks out a pixel here and there. So you lose detail, which also means that your RAW files are going to be larger files. Shooting in RAW also allows you more creative control of your white balance. So in post-processing, you can tweak that white balance a little bit more to get it to where you want it for whatever type of image or feeling you're trying to convey with your photograph. So if you haven't made the switch to shooting in RAW, I recommend doing that, especially if you want to really get creative in the post-processing aspect. Definitely make that switch from JPEG to RAW. Number 4, and that is filters. I didn't buy my first filter until a year ago, and that's kind of a shame when I think about it, and I think about all the places that I've traveled between 2011 and when buying my first filter, and I just reflect back in basically all the shots that I missed or wasn't able to capture in its true self because I didn't have a polarizing filter. And that is the first filter I'm talking about, is the polarizing filter. This is a circular polarizing filter from Hoya. I really like it. It was not a cheap one, but also not an expensive one. I think this one was under $50 when I purchased it last year. And I mainly went with the polarizing one as my first filter because I was going to Maui on vacation. So yes, this was February, March of 2020, right before the pandemic. I managed to get away and escape to Maui for a week. I came back and literally everything shut down. But what you get when you shoot with a polarizing filter, it really allows you to do some creative things with it. So we're going to go onto my laptop now, and I'm going to show you some images that I took with the polarizing filter. This first one right here that you see, this was taken last March when I was in Maui. And what the polarizing filter does is you can kind of really see it here in this water with the waves coming up on the beach. It is very crystal clear. There's hardly any reflection from the sun. This was taken around 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon, so it's not what you call the ideal perfect light. But yet I still managed to get this particular image because I had the polarizing filter on my lens. It also really enhances the blue in the sky and the greens. It allowed some more details because it took away some of the water reflecting off of these rocks right here, so you get some really good detail in the blacks of this particular lava rock. It just really allowed this photo to come into play. If I were to have taken this photo without a polarizing filter, it would not look anything remotely close to this. So that's kind of the powers. One of the ways you can use a polarizing filter. This next photo is actually of a waterfall close to my house here in North Carolina. This was August 2020. And again, taken with a polarizing filter, and the technique I used here was longer shutter speed. So I really wanted to kind of smooth out this waterfall and just allow there to be that motion of the water coming down. I didn't want it to freeze it, which is what you would get with a short, quick shutter speed. So this is about a 1 second shutter speed with the polarizing filter. It was probably maybe around 10 a.m. or so in the morning. One of the things that it allowed to do is it took out some of the reflection here in the water. And it also allowed to smooth out the water because the waterfall is coming down. So there's definitely movement here. And there's actually another waterfall exiting out over here on this side of the photograph. So this water is constantly moving, but it allowed it, with a slow shutter speed of about 1 second, it allowed this to all smooth out, took out the reflection of the water, So that way you could really just kind of see the pond flooring with all of its little tiny rocks and gravel that's at the bottom of that waterfall. So that's kind of what you could use with a polarizing filter. If you're just going to purchase one filter because of money, I would start off with a polarizing circular filter. It will allow you to shoot some slower shutter speeds. It's going to help with water if you're shooting lots of the ocean, lakes, waterfalls. This is really an awesome particular filter. I have this one linked down below in the description, so you can check that out if you're looking for one. The other filter that I recently bought a couple months ago is actually this B&W Neutral Density 10-stop filter. So as you could probably see, you're not really seeing anything going through this particular lens here in my home office. And what this really does is it really knocks out that light, and so allows for some extremely slow shutter speeds. And they don't have to be in super, bright or dark times to get those long shutter speeds. So let's go back here to my computer. As you'll see in this particular photo, this was taken here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and this was about 9:30 in the morning, and this is a 10-second shutter speed. So at 9:30 in the morning, the sun was kind of over here on this side, shining this direction across the lake. It was above the tree line, which the tree line continues out on the other side of this photograph. The other thing to know is that there were some fishermen that were over here on this side of the lake, and they were creating some wakes. But with a 10-second timer, with my neutral density filter, I was able to really smooth out that water and give it a nice silky smooth feeling, which is what I was going for. And that's why I wanted to go with the 10-stop over the 6-stop or the 3-stop or the 8-stop. I think they also have some 16 stops out there. But to me, I was like, I just want to go the 10-stop one. I only want one filter at this moment. And so this filter, I believe, was under $70 when I bought it. Might be under $80, but it wasn't terribly expensive. And so I'm really excited about that filter. And I've taken a couple waterfall photos with this particular filter, and I loved how they come out. So I'm excited to get out there even more to shoot more with this neutral density filter. So those are the two filters that I have. I don't really have any plans at this moment to purchase another filter. I'll probably just rock these for another year or so, and then maybe there'll be another filter that I feel like getting. But a lot of things like the graduated filters that are out there, you can do some of that stuff in Lightroom and post-processing. So I don't really feel like I'll be investing in any graduated filters at this time. But yeah, so I just wish I would have invested these in sooner, because it would have allowed me a lot more creative control over the photographs and the images that I take. So that is number 4, some filters. I wish I would have bought them sooner rather than later. Number 5, a good quality tripod. Just gonna say it. When I bought my first, this Nikon D7000, it came with a kit with a whole bunch of all these little accessory things. And one of them was a really cheap tripod. It was not a Nikon tripod. I don't even know if Nikon makes any tripods, but it was just a cheap tripod that came with the kit. I'm sure that tripod cost like $40, maybe $50 if you were to purchase it. And it broke within a couple months. And so I didn't really have a tripod that I used up until a couple years ago when I bought a Joby Gorilla tripod that has the bendable arms. And so I purchased one of those several years ago because I knew I wanted to take some slower shutter speeds. And there's only so much balancing on a rock you can do with your camera strap and your camera and, trying to get the angles that you want. I did that for a long time. And so I finally purchased the little tripod and stuff because I wanted something lightweight, but that also was not expensive. And then this past summer, I had been trying to save up my money to buy a more higher quality, full-size tripod. But I didn't want to spend an enormous amount of money on it. Tripods can $1,000, high quality tripods can go up from there. Or you can get really cheap ones. And I knew I didn't want a really cheap tripod. I wanted something that was going to last me a number of years. And so back in July, I purchased a Lefoto Ranger LS 324C tripod, which I'm using right now to film this particular video. And I love it. What I like about it, it was kind of a mid-range price point. I don't remember exactly how much it cost when I purchased it. I feel like it was more than $200, but less than $400. I think it was right around that $300,000 or $300. 300,000? Right, that'd be more than my house. Yeah, no, right around that $300 mark. So it's not a cheap tripod, but it's not a super expensive tripod that you find out there. And so it was just one of those, it was kind of right in that little butter zone, but I felt comfortable spending on a good quality tripod. It has lots of accessories that come with it. I will link that. And my Joby tripod, I'll link those both in the description below. One thing when it comes to a tripod that I can recommend you do is weigh your camera at its heaviest. So for me at the time when I bought my Joby tripod, I weighed my Nikon D7000 with my external flash on it, and I weighed that to make sure whatever tripod I purchased could handle my camera, and I didn't have to worry about it falling off or breaking. So that's one thing. If you haven't bought a tripod, make sure you weigh your camera to make sure it can handle your camera. Otherwise, you're just going to end up having a broken tripod like I did for a number of years because it was not meant for something heavy. So those are the 5 things that I wish I would have done sooner rather than later. I am, before we head out, going to give you a bonus. So this bonus is not a I wish I would have done. This is the I am so glad that I did that. And that actually has to do with the camera that I bought, and more specifically, the lens that came with the kit. So with my Nikon D7000, when I purchased this in 2011, I specifically searched for the kit that came with the 18 to 200 millimeter lens. This lens I rocked from 2011 to 2019 before I even bought my second lens. What I love about it is it can do wide angle, it can do close up. So I had like one lens to kind of rule it all. And it really allowed me to figure out where I like to shoot. But I also didn't have to worry about having multiple lenses in my bag to like switch out and get another lens. So that was one thing that I was so happy that I purchased this particular lens with this camera, because it just allowed me to really just hone in, and if I'm looking at a subject, be able to zoom in and then kind of zoom back out and get, a more wider angle to figure out where that particular scene looks best. And so one of the things that I run into problems with now with my Nikon Z6 and the lens it came with, which is the 24-70, which is what I'm filming on right now, is sometimes I get to that 70 and I'm like, oh, I can't go any further and stuff. So it feels so limiting when I have a different lens on. And I'll never forget the first time I shot with the 50 millimeter prime lens that I purchased, which is an f1.8. I remember going, oh, I can't zoom in, and it felt so strange. But when you're just starting out, when you have a lens that has that, wide range of a focal length that you can work with, it allows you to focus more on your camera and your setting and the scene, and less on swapping this lens for this lens because now I want to go wider angle, but I can't do that with this lens. So if you're looking for a lens, if you're just starting out, I recommend finding one that has a wide range focal length, kind of a one lens to rule it all, till you figure out what you want to shoot. What's great about my Nikon Z6 is I have the F to Z mount, which allows me to attach my 18 to 200 millimeter lens to my Nikon Z6 along with my 50 millimeter prime. So I can still use these lenses that I already have without having to purchase more lenses because I bought a new camera. So that was one thing that I'm really glad that I did, was purchase this particular lens. So anyways, I really hope that you found this video helpful, and maybe you found some little nuggets of information, some things that you are going to make that switch and start doing now if you haven't already. If you like this video, if you could give it a thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate it. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do that before heading out. And if you have any comments that you would like, please share those below. Tell me what were some of the things that you wish you would have done sooner rather than later. Maybe we all can learn from each other on the mistakes we make to help us become better photographers. And until next time, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Take care. We'll talk to you later. Bye.